Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people around the world, it is time for a culture change. This just in, breaking news from Adam Schefter, owner and co-owner Jimmy and Dee Haslam. They have been indicted on charges of tax evasion and fraud linked to their truck company Pilot Flying J. Now obviously this is a giant shock to the collective football world. So close to week one, and it appears that Roger Goodell has officially stripped ownership stake from the Haslams, as they could be facing years in prison for this. Just a mess, and another issue, more drama, pushing the Browns backwards instead of forward. With so much talent on this team, so much positivity on how the season could go with the talent they have today in this team, it just stinks. It's sad to see another thing happen to the Browns, and Browns are gonna Browns, I guess. Interestingly enough though, once Cleveland was put on the open market, Nav Bhatia, businessman, he became pretty famous and recognized after the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship last year, has placed the highest bid and actually bought the team on relative short notice. Being backed by British-Canadian business magnate David Thompson, these two form a powerhouse majority stake that is looking to build the Browns into one of the most important teams in the league financially. Now, at this time, there are rumors flying around that their first goal is to actually move on from Cleveland as a whole and potentially relocate the team. Both men, being from Canada, the thought is Toronto could be a major player to become the first NFL team created outside of the United States. Now that is a blockbuster announcement. Not an official announcement, but a blockbuster report dropped by Adam Schefter. We don't know what's going to happen now. We do know we have new owners in charge who are both from Canada, and perhaps they are looking to move this team to Canada or maybe somewhere else. We don't know, but it hurts, but it kind of makes sense. Look at all the past and the drama and the disappointment and the sadness that Cleveland has brought, that the Browns have really brought to Cleveland. So I'm not too shocked by it, but enough of the nonsense, enough of the sadness. When we look at football, from a football standpoint, this team has a lot going for it. And we can't talk about this team without mentioning Myles Garrett. One of the best defenders in the league, one of the best pass rushers in this league. He does it all. He's fast, he's incredibly strong, he gets after the quarterback, and he's very good against the run as well. As mentioned before, one of the best defensive ends in all of football. He's going to be a massive presence, and he's going to need to be a massive presence if we want to win football games this year. Of course, we have to mention Odell Beckham Jr., his first season as a Cleveland Brown coming up very shortly. Traded from the New York Giants to us, he's one of the best receivers in the league. Easily top 10, you could make a great argument that he's top 5. He does it all. He's fast, he runs beautiful crisp routes, he catches the ball, he can high point the football up in the air. He's just one of the best receivers in the league. Moving on now, we have Denzel Ward, a young, budding superstar of a cornerback, just 22 years of age. He's got the speed, he's got the man coverage ability, the press ability to be a force as the season progresses and in future seasons down the road. But, of course, we go as far as our quarterback takes us. We need Baker Mayfield to improve on how he ended the season last year into this season coming up. He's just 24 years old. He's still developing. He's not a franchise quarterback just yet, I'd say, but he's certainly not one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. We need him to continue to take a step forward, get better, learn, and become, hopefully shortly, sooner rather than later, one of the best quarterbacks in the league today. Now, as we move forward, there is one individual I'm looking to upgrade and develop, and that is David Njoku. At just 23 years old, He's 6'4", 250, is fast. He's a freak, an athletic freak of a tight end. Not very refined in his blocking or his receiving abilities just yet, but like I said, he's young, he's willing to learn, and he can definitely grow. He has the intangibles down, but he just needs to refine his technique. Along with Baker Mayfield and David Njoku, there's another player I'm looking to upgrade, and that is Greedy Williams, a very young cornerback drafted in the second round of the most recent draft. He's got the frame to be a number one corner, standing at 6'2", and he's got the speed. We wanted to be a press man cover corner along with Denzel Ward to really get blitzes and the pass rush going. We're gonna need that if we want to execute the defensive game plan. Now, looking at some free agents we added through the first 4 weeks of preseason, Taysom Hill, as we picked him up off the Saints practice squad, could be an interesting piece to this offense. He's very fast, he's very strong, he's a do-it-all type of player, and he could be used in some gimmick plays in the offense down the road. We also added Khalfani Muhammad. He's going to be primarily a kick return specialist. Do various things on special teams, may return punts as well. I like him a lot. He's very fast, he's very smooth. We also added a guy in Moritz Boringer, a former German Football League player. And for all the talk about David Njoku earlier, Boringer could be an interesting piece as well. I mean, he's faster than Njoku, believe it or not. He's about as big as him. He's another athletic freak of a tight end who, again, doesn't have refined receiving or blocking ability, but he's an athletic freak. So we'll see what the year has in store for him. We also picked up Kelechi Osemele, just as like a band-aid patchwork fix for the offensive line. Easily the weakest link of this team is the offensive line, but we are hoping that the interior can be a little bit better than our outside tackles, who are just flat out pretty bad. Yeah, left tackle, right tackle are easily the biggest needs of this team right now. There could be some in-season acquisitions, perhaps. Obviously, we don't know. We'll have to see what happens, but Osemele provides stability at right guard alongside Joe Bitonio and J.C. Treader. Now, an interesting other young player that a lot of people have not been talking about is a guy in Porter Gustin. He has the intangibles down. Again, he's very raw. He doesn't have a specific skill set yet, but he's fast and he's strong. And usually when you're those two things, you have a place in this league. Another young player I'm interested in is Mack Wilson. At just 21 years of age, he could be a player alongside Joe Schobert, and a very good player at that. He's fast, he hits hard, he's smart, a good tackler, takes smart angles when going after ball carriers. Not very good in coverage just yet, but not the worst I've seen. He could definitely be better, and we intend to get him better down the line. We also picked up Trevor Williams in free agency. He's going to primarily play slot cornerback. I like his skill set. He's good in man coverage and zone coverage. He's fast, just a smart football player, and he's very young. Now, because he's young, it depends on if we're going to bring him back for more than just this season. I believe he's going to command a pretty big price tag, so we'll have to see what happens. We also picked up Anthony Averett off the Baltimore Ravens practice squad. Probably going to be a special teams player his first season. I like his speed. Believe he could do some good things in special teams. Probably won't see the field as much on defense, but a good young player to have on the roster. Now, Tremont Williams, we have switched him from corner to play free safety this season. With his declining speed, I thought this was the right move to make. He's still very good in coverage, just kind of slow to keep up with the premier receivers in the league today. But putting him in the back end with his instincts, his experience, I believe that's a smart move to make. And both he and Demarius Randall are very good man coverage safeties, and that could pose some interesting fits for offenses. if we send blitzes, different blitz packages, to know that our safeties can cover. That's going to be a big deal. Now here are our practice squad guys, just a bunch of young guys. Hopefully they could develop. Well, we'll see what happens. Not too focused on the practice squad though. Moving on to the teams in our division. We have to start with the Baltimore Ravens, and we cannot talk about the Ravens without mentioning Lamar Jackson. This man, a budding superstar at 22 years of age. He's a unicorn. He's something we have rarely, if ever, seen in the National Football League. A guy with a cannon and deep field accuracy with unparalleled speed, quickness, acceleration, agility, ability to be in one spot and then the other in the blink of an eye. He's a transcendent talent, and he will be for a very long time, as he's just 22 years old. Feels bad, huh? Moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team synonymous for its defense, and that does not change this season. They traded a first-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick. A very interesting move considering Big Ben is pretty old, but when you get a chance to get a guy like this, I guess you take it every time. Standing at 6'1" and just 22 years old out of Alabama, this guy is a do-it-all hybrid type safety. He's fast. As mentioned earlier with Demarius Randall and Traymon Williams, he can cover both in man and zone. He played a lot of cornerback in college. He's very smart. He's very aware. He takes great angles. He hits hard. He does it all. He's a great safety to have, and he's just 22 years old. Moving on now to Devin Bush. This guy is going to be a problem. Just 21 years old, a rookie, but he's fast. He's not like most linebackers. He is very fast. And to think they had Ryan Shazier, imagine if, he didn't suffer his catastrophic injury. They could have him and Bush wreaking havoc in the middle of the defense. And of course, you have to take into account TJ Watt. It doesn't matter what your name is, as long as you have Watt at the end of it, you're most likely a superstar. And that is the case with TJ. He's pretty much a perfect pass rusher. Great against the run as well. He can bulldoze defensive linemen. He can run past them. He's fast. He's quick. He's got quick twitch muscles. He's going to be very annoying to deal with, especially considering our offensive line is, as mentioned before, not very great. Moving on now to very much so the little brother of the division, the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't have much talent right now, just to be honest, but one guy you do have to take into account is Joe Mixon. A do-it-all, all-purpose type running back. He's fast, he's strong, he can run over you, run past you, he can juke you out of your shoes, he can spin you out of your shoes, he can give you a mean stiff arm. Just an all-purpose back. A very good player, and he's easily going to be the focal point of this offense. Now, interestingly enough, the Bengals cut ties with Andy Dalton and have given the reins to Tyler James Williams. Tyree Jackson. Tyree Jackson, that's his name. Tyree Jackson out of Buffalo. Interesting guy here. He has a cannon of an arm, apparently. I haven't watched too much, Buffalo tape, to be honest with you. He has a cannon of an arm, and he's pretty fast. He's a very athletic freak, maybe in the Cam Newton, Josh Allen type mold. But he's very raw as a passer. His accuracy struggles. So we'll see, I guess we'll see what happens with him. Moving on now, there has been a lot of turnover in the AFC North. Starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They cut ties with Mike Tomlin after his fiasco with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell last season, and have hired former NFL player Visanthe Shiancoe. An interesting move for the Steelers, as Shiancoe has been all over the world, has been helping people less fortunate all over the world, and now he's trying his name at professional football coaching. Should be interesting. The Cincinnati Bengals hired Grayson Carter, a guy synonymous with the air raid offensive scheme. It's going to be interesting to see how his scheme and Tyree Jackson mesh together, considering Carter is probably going to want to throw it downfield a lot. And as we mentioned earlier, Tyree Jackson is not a refined passer. We mentioned Nabati earlier. And how about this story? This perhaps the most interesting story in the offseason if it wasn't for D and Jimmy Haslam. Lifelong fan Marcus Whipple won a raffle and is now a majority stakeholder in the Baltimore Ravens organization. He's a majority stakeholder and he won a raffle. A raffle. It's very interesting things going on in Baltimore, huh? Well, we discussed the teams in our division. We discussed our team. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. I'm looking forward to it. The Browns have more talent than they've ever had in a very long time. We have to look back to maybe 1980s when Bernie Kosar was the quarterback to think of a team more talented than this one today. As we see Baker Mayfield use his mobility, that's probably going to be a big asset considering the offensive line. It's not very great, to be honest. But there's a lot of optimism this year. We had some setbacks with the Haslams, but hopefully we're back on track now with Nat Bhatia and David Thompson. This team is just so talented. It's hard to see them fail. But we mentioned it earlier that this is a very young roster. There's a lot of young players who just have not been in those big moments before. That's a beautiful throw by Baker, though. But it's a very young team, a very inexperienced team, and that could show against some of the premier teams in the league this year. It's going to be interesting to see. We need Baker to improve drastically. That is the number one goal. The offensive line put in front of him is not going to do him any favors. He's going to have to succeed in spite of that, and hopefully he can. We're putting a lot of weight on this young man's shoulders to carry the load, and I can't wait to see what happens, man. The answers will finally be revealed, and the questions will be answered as the season progresses. To what kind of talent this team has, and what kind of people this team has. Will they wilt under the pressure, or will they rise to the occasion and finally make the playoffs? The goal is the playoffs. The talent is there. Will it manifest to be something great, or will it be more of the same in Cleveland, and will we fall short of expectations? Week 1 is coming up shortly. We host the Tennessee Titans in a game that tells a lot, and I can't wait for it.